My project is on the evolution of news. The evolution of news and how it was created. How news was created, and it all started with radio. It started in London that the British Broadcasting Company began transmitting radio news in 1922, and radio news was only for elites. In the USA, the RCA's The Radio Group established its radio network called NBC in 1926. After NBC, the CBS news station came along, and the two became the main radio networks in the US. The radio broadcasters in the US made an agreement with the press in 1933, and they agreed to use news from the Press Radio Bureau, but that ended, and news started their own radio stations. People preferred radio, 70% of people preferred it better than newspapers. And then the war came, and that brought the radio to grow more. The Soviet Union began an international broadcasting operation in 1929 with stations in German, English, and French, and it was useful for the war that Europe prepared for. The war was an opportunity for radio news to grow. The British Broadcasting Company reported an invasion in Normandy, and due to that, there was more news of radio coverage. The U.S. then set up its Office of War Information in 1942, which was able to send programming to South America, the Middle East, and East Asia. Radio Luxembourg was a high station in Germany, but then was taken by the US to create fake news on Germany. And so with the war, it brought propaganda, and the radio grew in news too. How television started. Television started in Britain, and the United States television news rose dramatically in the 1950s and 1960s. The U.S. news was run by CBS, NBC, and then it split to ABC, and Edward R. Murrow, who entered the public as a war reporter, became a newsman on CBS. And then Ted Turner created a cable news in 1980 that allowed a 24-hour satellite of broadcasting news, which grew more. And in 1999, there was a competitor, which was BBC, the World Service Television, and Rupert Murdoch, an Australian news corporation, made the Fox News channel in the US, and then that brought Sky News in Britain and Star TV in Asia. And CNN then came along, and the news spread more quickly, the news channels, and grew more. Social media. Social media started in the 1970s with the emergence of the internet, and the first social media site to emerge was 6 Degrees, which allowed people to sign up with their email address and make individual profiles, and people could make friends, and it was a personal network as well. And it was very popular at that time. And then Friendster came in 2002 and competed with 6 Degrees, which allowed users to sign up with their email address and also make friends, share videos, photos, and share messages with other users. And that is how social media grew with more apps. The similarities and differences of each platform. For the radio, it's similar because we are able to hear news through it and is heard by sound. The differences is that it is audio only and not seen through a screen, and it is easier to carry and listen to news with. Television, the similarities is that news are able to be heard there is advertising, and the differences is that it's seen through images and there is video through it. In social media, the similarities are that news is heard through all the platforms, there is advertising meant through the platforms, and the differences are that it is used with an application and you can message friends through it. Pros and cons of platforms. For the radio, the pros are it's easy to carry, to hear news easily and anywhere. You can listen to in the car. The cons are not seen as a visual image, only heard through the ear. Television, the pros are seen with visual image, able to see movies through it and TV shows. And cons, you cannot carry a television with you to hear news. And some information on the news can be false. And social media, the pros, you can stay connected with friends, easy to message through, and the cons is that it can have fake news and too much time on it can get you distracted on social media. Actual events examples is life-breaking news that has in the news. Life-breaking news is on the news channel CNN, Fox News, NBC, CBS, and they all have events that go live. Here is a link of how to be a news reporter on television, and you can actually experience events.
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write essays that inspire, messages that forge brighter connections,
you have to be very curious about the world around you. You have to be very curious about the people around you. If you're not interested, that's going to come across, and you're not going to be very good at this. If you're not interested, you won't be able to convey the message or the information to the people at home. When someone's watching the news in the evening, they want to know that you are interested so that you can share your experiences and share your curiosity and share the information with them on a personal level. So you really have to engage people, and you have to want to engage people so that you can do this properly. One of the biggest challenges in television news reporting is your next big job. One of the tricky parts is the way you move up in this business is by moving into bigger and better markets. More people can see you that way, and then you can make a little more money, and you can deal with bigger issues. Local levels have smaller issues in a lot of cases, big issues in big markets. So in order to do that, you have to get into that next big market, and the competition is fierce. So one of the challenges I face, and a lot of reporters face, is proving that you're ready to take the next step. I've been doing this in this market. It's a medium-sized market, but it's an excellent starting market. It's an excellent place to get your feet wet, learn the trade, learn the craft, and hone your skills. But now that I've done that for a few years, it's time for me to move somewhere bigger with more important issues or better issues or more interesting things or more widespread or national or international interest. So I've got to convince that next news director that I'm the person that can do that job, bring that level of excellence to their news department. And once I do that, I'll have the opportunity to move up.
So as he was saying, you have to be the best that you can be in order to be a reporter on television because of the competition, and you have to prove to the director that you are the best that you can be, to be able to actually experience all the events that happen in breaking news and be a part of that. News in the future can go far, and it can be very advanced that you can hold it in your hands. It can also be in the air and be able to be reached that fast. And news can even be with robots and be that advanced. So news can go very far. My citations. Thank you for watching.